Welcome to a series that we call Across the Bar, where we're going to be interviewing our players for the upcoming campaign, learning more about their characters and what they drink. All right, so we're here today with Joel. And Joel, who will you be playing in the upcoming campaign?
I will be playing the Shidarkai monk, Casavel Yeldrin.
Casavel Yeldrin. Nice. You're a fan of monks.
I sure am.
I know this from role-playing with you for years. Don't get enough love, the monks.
Mm-mm. They sure do not. They are usually the weakest class in any edition, but they are the most fun for me.
Nice, that's awesome. And you just took a sip of your drink, so we said, what would Casavel drink? And this is what we came up with, so do you want to talk a little bit about it?
Yeah, it's just something called the Black Raven cocktail.
Nice.
Him being a Shidarkai, he's a big fan of the Raven Queen, so we found this, but it's got Jaeger, rum, some Coke, a little bit of shimmer to make it like nice and pretty and glittery, and then some maraschino cherries to top it off. I think that was everything, right?
Yeah, it was everything. Yeah, that's awesome. How's it taste?
Tastes pretty good. Tastes
Nice.
a little bit like black licorice, but that's the Jaeger in it. But
Nice.
not too bad, not overpowering.
Yeah, I think
So-
black licorice makes sense for Shadow High or whatever. So nice. I'm drinking beer.
Nice. Well, cheers.
Cheers. So let's talk a little bit about Casavel. So, Shatterkai, right, from the Shadow Realm.
Yep.
Cool. I guess let's get into the basics of what's your backstory going to be like?
Well, I mean, born and raised in the Shadowfell. Basically, had a lover. She was getting married to somebody else. He didn't like that, so he challenged the other person to a duel.
Oh, nice.
Got completely draxed. Basically was in a comatose injury state. And while he was convalescing from this duel, he basically had visions of someone fighting very masterfully with a sword,
Nice.
dodging or more or less untouchable when people tried to hit him, very quick and agile and mobile. So in his mind, this was the Raven Queen kind of guiding his path forward. And he also didn't ever want to feel as helpless or weak as he did after losing that duel. So he, while he was getting healed, he also told the healers not to heal his face, because I guess maybe we left that part out. But during the duel, there was one slash across his left eye that really messed up his eye. And he wanted the healers to leave that alone while he was healing, because he wanted that as a reminder of his failure, just to kind of spur him further on. And unfortunately, he never got his sight back in his eye, so he will be wearing an eye patch.
Nice. So you're going to start the campaign missing an eye.
I will, taking
Nice.
all the disadvantages that come along with that. So
That's cool, though.
yeah. But once he heals up, he leaves the Shadowfell, finds some monastery that in the Wildlands.
Yeah, what do we call it?
The Talinar,
Talinar?
I think was what it was, which is
Slave Brothers?
in Elvish.
Yeah.
And then kind of goes from there. Finds some scrolls, some broken weapons, and his goal is to just kind of read those scrolls, master the techniques, and become a master swordsman.
Nice. So, so just for some background for the campaign, so within the traditional confounds of D&D, the Raven Queen used to be this entity, and then there was basically a ritual that went bad, and she was moved to the Shadow Realm with her followers. So we've actually baked that into the campaign. And that's not just for this group. That's something that I've done in the past as well. And this forest that you're going to is where that event happened. So there used to be a monastery there. This event happened. Now it's sort of abandoned, and that's what you're saying you have visions of and you find.
Yeah.
Perfect. So with all that, where did you land on from a background perspective?
Like actual background decision. I think we were going with Hermit. It was either Hermit or
Inheritor?
Inheritor.
Yep.
Inheritor. I think Inheritor was the one I landed on. Just because he basically inherits these scrolls and
Yep.
these like broken weaponry, the sword in particular, to kind of uh, protect and be the guardian of. I can't think of the word I don't want to say with it, but
Yeah. The sort of a carry on the legacy of
Yeah.
the monastery.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. So we'll tweak. So I like that. So we can tweak inheritor, like, because they get the item. That's why we want inheritor, right? And the
yeah,
items,
I think
the
it just
scrolls.
kind of So this is, I landed with the scrolls and the sword.
Gotcha. So we can tweak that to be appropriate. I think that's the main piece of it. And see if there's anything in that background that makes more sense in terms of like following a vision or whatever. Maybe it's inspired, or I don't know. That's not a word.
Yeah.
So when you're inspired by these memories. But I like that a lot. So we don't have to stick to that necessarily, that strict script when we're talking about the different things there.
Mhm.
So as we go through like character traits, like what's something that as a personality trait that you thought really resonated with your character?
One of the things that he has is that he's very serene. And it's kind of, it goes between him kind of letting emotion get in the way with the duel, which kind of like spurred on the duel, and also just that he understands from reading these scrolls and everything that controlling his emotion is the main way to kind of keep his cool in battle and will lead to more success. So he is very, especially particularly in a fight, he is keen to kind of just be calm and cool and collected.
Nice.
The one caveat to that, his other personality trait, is that he's very critical of himself when it comes to his swordsmanship, and it is one of the few times that he will show strong emotion is when he screws something up in that regard, and he will be kind of down on himself.
Nice. So holds himself to a very high standard, and that can evoke emotions. But one of
Correct.
the things that he's trying to do is really practice that monk zen and channel those emotions when in battle.
Absolutely.
That's cool. I like that. We'll see as we go through the campaign. Excuse me, how to use that to develop the character. What about in terms of bonds? Like anyone within the realm, people, a group, a person that you feel specifically connected to?
I mean, not particularly. He's not really connected to his people. The only connection he has is to this monastery that he finds, and to like
Okay.
the Raven Queen for kind of guiding him to that. But as far as like his former family, his people, like he feels no connection to them whatsoever. Yeah.
So not necessarily the shadow realm, like that side of it, the history, but what you've been inspired to pursue, this monastery and the Raven Queen and what that means. There's a strong bond there.
Yep.
Perfect. You mentioned kind of that the sword fighting, that you hold yourself to a high standard. Is that what you're going to use as your flaw, or are there other character flaws that you're thinking about as well?
So one of his main flaw is that and maybe I should backtrack. Maybe his bond, or no, that was an ideal, not the flaw. Bond. But his flaw is that because he wants to like test himself, he is very rarely going to turn down a direct challenge, and will fight whatever, even if he knows he's going to lose. So
you got the Marty McFly, like
don't call me chicken, right?
I like that.
So yeah, because and I'll step in that his ideal is that he'll never know his limits if he doesn't test them, and
Nice.
that kind of feeds into his flaw. So that's kind of
Gotcha.
where that is.
So it's kind of like it's an overused strength. Like you're, from an ideal standpoint, you're very into testing yourself and pushing yourself to the limits, but sometimes that can lead to a position where you're maybe in hot water when you shouldn't have been because you acted brash.
Yeah,
or something
didn't
like
need
that.
to be. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that a lot. That's definitely gives me some stuff to use as we.
Yeah,
go
it's
through.
definitely not exploitable by any means whatsoever.
That's awesome. I think so. So with all that, where do you land from an alignment perspective?
That one's been a little trickier. I was leaning lawful neutral just because of the whole like discipline and just kind of needing to stick to that kind of training regimen to be good at fighting the sword. And he doesn't really lean good or evil one way or the other, so it's either lawful neutral or neutral, probably somewhere in between those two. I don't really have a specific one picked out, but it's definitely in that area.
Gotcha. Again, like a Saiyan vibe. It's like the fight itself. Like you care more about the fight itself
Yep.
than whether the fight's for good or evil. It's more about testing
Absolutely.
yourself. Yeah, I
Yep.
like that. Nice. I think that's most of the questions. The last one I had was a sort of a question that I like to ask. So it comes down to this concept of having a why, and like and this whole time we've been talking about how your character's experiences have sort of shaped how they think about the world. But I just like to anchor to purpose and motivation and things like that with that why. Like what would be your ideal future state for the impact that you'd like to have on the world? Like what are you trying to bring to life that really motivates your character?
Two things. One, he wants to revive the Talinar Monastery. Like that's his big thing. And kind of take the martial arts that he is inheriting from that monastery and kind of bring them back into the fold of the world. And the other thing is he wants to be craft the best swords, but also be the absolute master of the sword. He will be the sword master, not a sword master in his mind. And that's nothing else tops that goal.
I like that. So that ties in a lot of the things we were saying. Like you want to bring back that monastery, that bond that you feel a connection with, and then be known as the best swordsman to ever live. And I like the craft. We didn't really talk about that a little, but you're
Correct,
trying to craft the sword as well.
Yeah, so one of the things, it's not just the sword either. Like the swordsmanship isn't the main thing for him, but the idea is that he is a master of multiple weapons and forms. So there's a number of other things that through time, as he gets more experience, he'll be able to use other weapons too in a very effective manner.
Nice. That's awesome.
Sword being the number one, though.
Nice. That's awesome. Anything else that you'd want to say about the character before we wrap up?
I mean, I just really look forward to playing.
Yeah, we look forward to playing too. It sounds really cool.
One of many future monks that I have planned out, so be ready.
They'll all team up together, form like a
eventually,
ninja guild. Nice. Well, thanks for coming across the bar. It was great talking to you, Joel.
Always
Cheers, and look forward to the next campaign. Thanks for tuning in.